The plan was in motion. Everything was in position to start, from the bank heist team, to the sonic disruptor engines, to the escape helicopter waiting 3.2 miles from the start of the route. The only thing missing was WalkMan. The bank alarm sounded as 3 of my Doom Squad minions scampered down the main entrance stairwell, each carrying a large duffel bag stuffed with bearer bonds and large denomination bills. With a sickening crack, one minion fell. I zoomed in with my mechanical eye and saw it was Johnson, one of my young interns. He held his ankle with one hand while trying to cram the money back into the bag with the other. I sprang into action, vaulting over the balcony railing and dropping the 4 stories to the ground below. I caught myself on the streetlight, taking the brunt of the fall with my robotic arms, and conserved my momentum with a vicious swing through to the ground. I ran to the young man and quickly scanned his injured ankle with my robotic eye's X-ray setting. It was a lateral malleus fracture, the break of the knobby bump on the outside of the ankle. Johnson wasn't going to be walking on that anytime soon. "Hold on," I told the minion. He nodded, fear and pain overcoming his vocal cords temporarily. I picked Johnson up and held him over my shoulder in a fireman carry. As I did, several shots rang out around me. I turned and spotted the bank guards with their sidearms pointed at me. I cackled. "Foolish peons," I said, advancing towards the pair. "Do you know who you are threatening? I am Dr. Doomsday, and this—" One of the guards fired. I could see his body tensing as he prepared to pull the trigger, the muscles in his forearm flexing, his shoulders lowering in anticipation of bracing the recoil, the slight squinting of his eyes to subconsciously protect them against the expected noise of the shot. I was able to twist out of the way, moving before he had finished pulling the trigger. I followed up the dodge with a laser blast from one cyborg arm. The guard didn't fall, mostly because he was floating away as ash and smoke. The other guard raised his hands in surrender and set his gun on the ground. "Clever man," I said and turned to leave. The first of the 3 planned explosions detonated, creating a large crater on the road where a pothole had once made itself a home. I checked my watch, pleased to see it occurred at the exact second it was planned for. What I hadn't planned for was the lack of police, or my nemesis, WalkMan. A key part of the plan required WalkMan to pursue us past a sonic disruption device, which was set to explode as it heard the hero approaching. If he wasn't there, then the explosion would draw suspicion. Suspicion would draw investigation, and investigations would reveal the deeper layer of my plans. I activated my ear comm by wiggling my ears twice, then selected the contact by touching the back of my teeth in a specific order with my tongue. "Yes, Doctor," a young man asked as he answered his own ear comm. "Stephen," I said, glancing around the city as I walked towards a secondary extraction point with the wounded man. "Where is your father?" Stephen, my nemesis son and my godson, and current Doom Squad minion, didn't answer immediately. "Stephen, you and I resurrected the man together. You know I'm not going to kill him." "Well, kill him again," I told him. "So, where is he? Where are the police?" Stephen sighed. "Doctor, I don't know where he is, but I know why he isn't there." "Well, spit it out, son," I said, finally arriving at the extraction spot. I gently lifted Johnson off my shoulder and set him down on a pile of freshly laid pine straw in the landscaping. I prepared an emergency brace for his ankle fracture from my makeshift first aid kit. "He and the police are sitting this one out," Stephen said. "What?" I bellowed, scaring the injured man before me. I mouthed, "Sorry," at him before resuming my call. "Why the hell are the city's defenders sitting this out?" "They think you're doing these for fun, and you might get bored and stop if they don't play your game," Stephen said. His tone was flat, but it was clear he wasn't happy about it either. I tightened the ankle brace, making sure not to cut off Johnson's blood flow completely. Damn them. They may be right. But I couldn't admit that. Not to myself, not to Doom Squad, and certainly not to WalkMan. Detonate the final 2 explosives and retreat, I said, keying over to the Doom Squad-wide frequency and repeating the order. I heard the Doomcopter before I saw it, which was an impressive feat with my enhanced eye and normal ears. The large, heavily armed aircraft landed next to us in the city courtyard, and 2 Doom medics hopped out. They quickly deployed a stretcher, hoisted Johnson onto it, and secured him into the helicopter. I followed suit, grabbing a handhold and locking my cyborg fingers into place. "Orders, sir?" the pilot asked over her radio. I keyed into her frequency and said, "We're going home." As the helicopter began to climb, she asked, "What happened?" I scowled at nobody in particular. WalkMan took his ball and went home. He's not playing the game anymore. Superpowers are far more common than most people realize. Some scientists have estimated that 1 in 10 people actually have a power, but never discovered them or figured out how to use that power. For example, people with the potential for super speed could be lazy couch potatoes that never tried to run as fast as they could. A super strength person might never set foot in a gym in their life. And even if they did discover their power, it could turn out to be mundane or even detrimental power. Like mine. I had the power to always be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I was super unlucky. I tried to tell all of this to WalkMan, as the hero held me by the collar in midair. Well, maybe not midair, since we were currently floating closer to the stratosphere than the ground. Maybe upper air would be more applicable to our current position. "Why did you do it?" WalkMan shouted over the sound of his headphones, which were blaring "Learn to Fly" by the Foo Fighters. "WalkMan, that wasn't me!" I shouted back, unsure if he could even hear me over his song. "I was at the bank, but I didn't rob it! That was Doomsday and his thugs!" WalkMan brought me closer to his face, glaring at me with the anger only a hero could match and a villain could surpass. His music was so loud it hurt my ears. "Dr. Doomsday left the scene without a bag of cash and bearer bonds," he shouted in a more matter-of-fact tone than before. "Okay," I responded, confused. Why was this relevant? "You walked past this bag immediately after he bugged out." "As the cops escorted us out, yeah," I said, not sure where this was going. "How much is Doomsday paying you to not even tempt you to take that?" WalkMan said. "What?" was all I could say in response. This didn't make any sense whatsoever. "Half the city that day worked for the Doom Squad," WalkMan said, clenching my collar even harder. It's not a stretch to think he had some goons on this job. "But I was making a deposit," I said, frantically trying to remember where I had put my receipt for my transaction. "My grandma sent me a birthday check." "What is he planning next?" WalkMan growled at me. "Where is he striking?" I searched for anything to say to make this insanity stop. Just something to convince him to bring me back to solid ground once more. I don't. I stammered, failing to say anything coherent. The next thing I knew, I was waking up, groggily. I tried to sit up and take a look around at my surroundings. It was a small cell, sitting on a thin mattress with a rough wool blanket. I must have passed out from lack of oxygen, or maybe fright. I wasn't a doctor, so I couldn't know for sure. What I did know for certain was that something was happening in the prison. An alarm blared and shouts were coming from every direction. With a bone-shattering clonk, the door to this section of cells flew open, striking the far wall as it soared past my field of view. I flattened myself against the far wall for some slight protection, mostly for my own mental health than any real physical safety. The lights in the cell block cut out, and took all noise with them. I held my breath as the heavy footsteps made its way to my barred door. Twin explosions ripped through the door at the hinge and lock, blinding me with their brilliance in the dark. I shielded my eyes and heard the door join the first on the floor at the end of the hallway. I looked again, trying to blink away the spots in my vision. I could see an outline of a man, but I couldn't make out any features. The man stepped into my cell and held out a hand to help me back to my feet. I hadn't even realized I had dropped to a crouch in the first place. I accepted the hand. It was cold and felt more like a sheet of steel than flesh. I knew who this was. Dr. Doomsday? I asked, perplexed. Indeed, he said, pulling me into the hallway. I was informed one of my operatives was being held here, but I don't recognize you. I'm Marty, I said as a hail of bullets impacted the wall beside us. Dr. Doomsday grabbed me by the shoulder, raised one of his robotic arms, and blasted a hole in the wall of the cell. Looks like this went from a jailbreak to a hostile recruitment, the doctor said. Welcome to the Doom Squad. I followed the supervillain out through the jagged concrete hole, apparently beginning my new life of crime as a minion. It was better than risking being shot by the prison guards. As I left, I cursed my rotten luck. I could blame my grandmother for still sending me a birthday check on my 30s, but that wouldn't be fair. Probably.